Hey yo guys, time for me to give you some predictions on tonight's UFC 89 card, which is free on Spike TV, and tonight's boxing card between Kelly Pavlik and Bernard Hopkins. So, I mean, both events look pretty strong. I'm just interested to seeing in how Pavlik fares, because I think Pavlik's one of my favorite fighters. And you know, you got two good strong fights on this UFC 89 card in Leben versus Michael Bisping, and you got Vera versus Jardine, and you also have Sokoudjou on the card, which is pretty cool to see. I like Sokoudjou, but we'll see how he does it tonight. Anyways, let's go to the predictions here. The first fight is a welterweight bout between Paul Taylor and Lytle. Chris Lytle, ever since he lost to Josh Koscheck, big setback. He's looking to turn things around tonight. I think, you know, both guys are going to have an exciting fight. It's not going to get out of the first round for sure. Both guys are going to be quick and dominant here. But I see Lytle having, you know, the experience, the edginess, the craftiness, and the hunger, and, you know, just taking Taylor out, first round knockout, or TKO I should say, and, you know, advancing Chris Lytle in welterweight contention. That's just my thoughts on this fight. I mean, Taylor's a good fighter, but I don't think he's anywhere near Chris Lytle, and Chris Lytle has nothing to really worry about tonight. Then we move over to the next welterweight bout. It's Marcus, the Irish Hand Grenade Davis versus Paul Kelly. This one should be a good fight. I mean, you know, both guys are going to be loved by the crowd, as, you know, we all know this is Marcus Davis home away from home, which is, you know, a good thing. I like when you have this guy on the card overseas. He's always a good thing here. Paul Kelly, though, he hasn't shown me anything other than his fight with Paul Taylor at UFC 89. Just saying, I haven't seen anything out of there. He hasn't beat anyone credible other than Paul Taylor. Marcus Davis, on the other hand, he loves to fight, obviously. He's been in a lot of wars, especially his last fight against Mike, which, you know, was a good, strong fight at UFC 85. I mean, it could have gone either way. And, you know, Swick, you know, he had a little more credentials there, and, you know, he was able to beat Davis here. And, you know, it was an even fight. It could have gone either way, but that's just me. So, Davis is also looking to rebound. I have a feeling he's gonna, you know, want to do this, come out with more hunger like Lytle will in his fight, and, you know, just be able to take him to, this will definitely go to the second round. I see this one being a second round TKO here, and, you know, just advances Davis even more, and, you know, showing maybe we can get a Lytle-Davis fight coming up, which would be nice, maybe down the line at UFC 93 or maybe UFC 94, but we'll see with that. As I just think Davis has got more firepower and more ammunition, and I just think he'll take him down with the second round TK. Then we move over to the first light heavyweight bout between Keith the Dynamine Jardine and Brandon the Truth Vera. In this fight, a lot of people are saying that Brandon Vera is going to come back and be the Brandon Vera of old, the guy that beat, you know, Frank Shamrock and, you know, was all so impressive and was supposed to be the next great heavyweight. Well, no, I don't see this one being special at all. I don't see Brandon Vera being there. Anytime Brandon Vera is in a big fight situation, he fucks it up and loses. And in his last fight against Andy Reese, or Reese Andy, I should say, that was one of the worst performances I have seen Brandon Vera in. I mean, it was just disgusting and bad. When you take the flip side of this coin in the big fight situation, Jardine, he's been there, and he's won on more than one occasion. Yeah, he may have lost to Wanderlei Silva, but when you get tagged by Wanderlei Silva, you go down. I mean, come on, this is Wanderlei, the axe murderer Silva we're talking about. I mean, Keith Jardine actually has a strong chin, as he's proven in the Houston Alexander fights. So, don't come here and give me that Brandon's going to come back because Keith may have a suspect chin. He's going to get him with he's got great striking. No, Brandon doesn't know how to, you know, be in the big fight situation and win. I think Vera, you know, was good, but ever since he left his original team due to, you know, issues, he hasn't been the same person. Keith Jardine here, he's going to come out there, use what Houston Alexander did to him to beat him, you know, just rush him, attack, go 100% full board, take Vera down and get a first-round knockout. That's how I see this one going, and just set Brandon Vera here to be on, UFC Fight Night cards for the rest of his life, or versus his UFC career, I should say. That's how I see it one going, and Keith Jardine can get into contention, and pending how the Forrest Griffin-Rashad Evans fight goes, then we could make Evans versus Jardine. Although I kind of think, I doubt that, but we'll see where it goes. Then we move over to the next light heavyweight bout between Rameau, Thierry, Sokoudjou versus Luis Khan. Really, this one, this one's a very interesting fight. I mean, Sokoudjou, ever since, his Pride days at Pride 33 and Pride 34, when he was, a fucking beast and was unfucking ever since he's ventured over to the UFC, he's a mere mortal now. And, I mean, his last fight, it wasn't that impressive. It had to be stopped for injury purposes. I mean, he just hasn't been the same guy you would see in Pride. I mean, not going to take anything away. I still think he is a beast, but he just hasn't shown it in here. Whereas his opponent, Luis Khan, I should say, is one of the most underrated fighters in the light heavyweight division. And I think this fight here, I think he's going to prove that, he's no longer going to be overlooked, and, there's going to be a new guy in light heavyweight to look out for. I see this one going, at least second round, maybe third, where there's going to be, maybe probably a TKO here. I mean, but he likes to throw with him. And, I mean, Luis Khan's only experience in UFC was his fight against James the Sandman Irvin when he got disqualified. He really hasn't shown his full potential here. So I think he's going to go out here, show what he can do, TKO Sokoudjou here, late second, early third, and that's where I see this one going. And then we go to the main event, which is Michael the Count Bisping versus Chris Leben, middleweight bout. As we all know, this fight was supposed to take place at UFC 85 Bedlam, but Chris Leben in his past, he had a criminal record, couldn't travel over, and, it had to be delayed, so Michael Bisping took on Jason Doomsday, and, he just beat him, but straight up whooped his ass, and, looked very impressive, but he's got, I mean, a lot of people are saying Bisping hasn't fought anyone credible. Day's pretty credible, but Bisping was just, ferocious that night. But tonight he's got a strong opponent in Chris Leben, and a lot of people could be thinking, well, Bisping will come out there, get a nice punch, pop him, and then, ground and pound him like, Bisping's been doing as of late. Come on, I don't see this happening here. Chris Leben, he's got an iron chin too, just like Jardine does. I mean, with Chris Leben, he looks dead serious about this fight, looking to prove that, he should be a contender in this middleweight division, and, getting a big victory over Michael Bisping is going to be, his stepping stone here. And if it continues to go long, which I think it will, I think this one goes the distance. Leben is very tough to deal with. He's like a wounded animal. The longer it goes, the more vicious he can be. So that's how I see this one going. It's going to go to the scorecards, and, hopefully we don't get any Michael Bisping, Matt Hamill bullshit here where, Hamill clearly won, but the judges just sided with Bisping, as that was in England as well. I hope we don't get the same thing here. Leben to win by decision, and overall we get a good impressive card, and and this will continue the theme of guys who should win their fight and someone just completely fucks it up, as Rashad Evans already did this in UFC with Chuck Liddell. Then we had this with Seth Petrozelli with Elite XC defeating Kimbo in 13 seconds or whatever it was, and now we'll have it with Chris Leben, maybe putting the doubt of Michael Bisping to be a coach on the Ultimate Fighter Season 9. Then we move over to the world of boxing, the sweet science, if you will. I haven't made that a full-on prediction video here in a while, as the only thing I've mentioned was the Cotto Margarito fight, which I said would be awesome, and I predicted Margarito, and I was right. But anyways, we move on here. It's another weekend of the old school versus new school. We had this last week, but I was, kind of taken off guard by some stuff, as, the old school prevailed in one fight, and then the new school prevailed when you had, in the old school version, you had Vitaly Klitschko absolutely make Samuel Peter his bitch, and, just whoop his ass. Everyone was doubting that. They all thought Peter would have worked the body to set up a knockout shot. That didn't happen. Klitschko used his height to his advantage and exercised a full jab, and most of the punches he threw landed, which hurt. And this fight was in Germany, so there was open scoring, and I guess Peter realized there's open scoring, I'm not gonna win, I'm just gonna throw in the towel, which maybe was the smartest thing, since he didn't want to ruin maybe the potential of his career and get seriously hurt. But still, he got owned, and I guess it was a smart thing for Peter to quit, to say, I don't want to go back out there. And then in the other, new school prevailed against the old school with bad Chad Dawson absolutely, in a way shocking the world by defeating Antonio Tarver. I mean, now we have stars born in boxing now, which is good. I mean, hopefully we can get more stars created, but we'll see where we go from there, as, Dawson's one of only a handful of men able to knock down Antonio Tarver, so that's pretty impressive there. And, he was just able to use his speed and, get the victory there. So we have the rubber match tonight, as we have Kelly the Ghost Pavlik taking on Bernard Hopkins. So, where do you go here? The rubber match in the old school versus new school type feel. Well, let's break it down here. You got Kelly Pavlik, a guy who ever since in last September, he knocked out Jermaine Taylor in the 7th round. And, it was an absolute slugfest, awesome fight. And then in the rematch, towards the end of 2007, he was able to show that he can box, which is something that is always good, that you have a guy who can do both styles. And, it makes it really, really hard to combat against that. When you look at Bernard Hopkins, his last fight against Joe Calzaghe, he lost that, so, he's looking to prove that he belongs here. And, Pavlik had to move up to the weight fight, since, he really hasn't had an opponent to take on, as, his only time he was in the 160-pound division defending his belt was up against, Gary Lockett, when he was just too powerful and finished him in the 3rd. So this fight will be interesting. So how do I see this one going down? Well, you got Pavlik, who, likes to work the body. He goes to the body quick and early. He throws amazing amount of hooks, the fight, and he does this every round. I mean, that's what's gonna makes him so special. But Hopkins, on the other hand, he's a good counter puncher, so I look for him to be able to counter punch in here. But really, I see this one being a decision. And I see Pavlik winning here, and just Pavlik cementing his legacy here. I mean, Hopkins is a good fighter as a past, but when he was in that decade-long his middleweight belt, really, he came back with the last-second flurry to get the wins. I mean, he should have lost a couple times in those bouts, but I don't see the Hopkins of old being here, and I see just Pavlik being able to take it the distance, work the body, good hooks, and be able to keep his distance and pick his spots and get the victory. So anyways, that's it for me. I'm out. Peace.